While walking down the corridor, a man wonders about the disasters that have been going on over the last years, and cursed spirits has been popping up more often than usual. Getou looks around and notices something going on in a dark alley. He walks forward and finds something that looks quite similar to our ex's. Disgusted, he decides to erase it. With a burst of cursed energy, he condenses the creature into a single orb. It's vile, reeking of rot and tasting like moldy cheese, but he swallows it anyway, because even though he knows how twisted and pitiful humanity can be, he's one of the few sorcerers who still chooses to save it. Although that is what he's been trying to convince himself ever since that day. A documentary runs on how a local president of a fast food chain offed himself after his restaurant went down due to a mysterious disease. Now whoever comes close to that mansion ends up losing their life, and most of them are never to be seen again. Meanwhile, two baddies are tasked with finding out the mystery of the mansion and stopping it from turning into a haunted spot. The supervisors tell the sorcerers that youngsters and others often go missing in the mansion, thinking that maybe there's a DD party going on in there, and they have to get to the root of the problem before it gets out of hand. So headquarters is tasking them to research it. However, Mei Mei makes it loud and clear that she is in it for the money, and she may or may not have overcharged them. And this is what they call negotiation. Later, they reach the mansion on top of Creepy Hill. They are tasked with purifying it and creating a veil around it to keep normies from snooping in. Yuuji finds the mansion locked. She opens it up and finds it disgusting, with so many garbage bags and issues lying around. Mimi, on the other hand, puts on a brave front, looking around, and she hands Yuuji the flashlight. Though she is scared, she still walks around trying to get to the bottom of the mystery. But the more she explores the mansion, the creepier it gets. They decide to divide and conquer, with Yuuji going to the second floor and Mei Mei surveying the first floor. Yuuji looks around at the filthy corridor. She is so creeped out that she is about to break down and cry. She gently opens the door to her room, and surprisingly it's the room where the manager unalived himself by getting on the forbidden swing. She then investigates each room one after another and reaches the last room in the corridor. Surprisingly, it's in better shape, though she wants to investigate under the bed. All of a sudden, the door creaks shut behind her.
Oh, hell no!
Watching too many horror movies, she wonders if this is the way she must investigate. But it turns out it's only a few mice under the bed. Even though she is a sorcerer, she runs away crying and closes the door. Just then, a hand clasps on her shoulder and realizes it's just Mei. Mei Mei tells her she could be the next Scream Queen on how dramatic she is. She looks around and realizes that they have been going around in circles. She had marked the corridor with her cursed energy, and this is only the first floor, and she had seen it 3 times. And somehow, they are already in the belly of the beast. And Yuuji is slowly starting to wonder why she accepted this mission. They decide to keep on going, and each time they try to move forward, they find themselves back on the cursed energy mark. They realize they have walked 4 kilometers in the same corridor. It's an excellent way to lose weight and sanity. Yuuji realizes that the corridor is repeating itself, so maybe the beast is elongating the corridor, and surprisingly, each time they visit the mark, the steps are different. So there is no consistency. Yuuji comes up with a brilliant solution that they should run at the top of their speed. This will cause the beast to break the spell, as it will be unable to keep up. Mei Mei tells her that she has it down to 90%, but Yuuji angrily wonders what the heck is the remaining 10%. The brilliant Mei Mei says that they should run in opposite directions to overwhelm it even more, and so they start executing their plan by running in the opposite direction. Yuuji feels the corridor warp behind her, and ultimately the building collapses into a tornado. But it turns out it's not the beast that has caused the tornado. It is none other than Satoru Gojo. Gojo wonders if Yuuji is crying, and she angrily yells that she is not. Though Mei Mei wonders if she cried, would he comfort her? But Gojo tells her she wouldn't cry since she isn't weak. As she attempts to chew him out, the gigantic cursed spirit that erupts behind her has other plans. However, before it can move, it gets eaten up by a bigger cursed spirit. Getou arrives and tells Gojo they shouldn't pick on the weak. But Gojo wonders who in their right minds picks on the strong. They tease her continuously, and the only sensible one of the group calls out to Yuuji, asking her if she is alright. She runs to Shoko, asking her to promise she won't turn out like these douchebags and keep all of her brain cells, unlike these 2 idiots. Mei Mei realizes that it's been 2 days since they were inside of the domain, and now she will charge for 2 days of salary. And Yuuji knows she is definitely about to overcharge them again. This is the only way she can stay off only sorcerers. But it turns out that they forgot to put up a veil around the mansion, and the normies have realized that something was wrong, but it is covered up as an explosion story from a leaky gas pipe. Yaga-senpai scolds them for forgetting to put up the veil, and immediately Gojo is blamed for that. So he receives a fist of love to teach him some discipline. Later, Gojo and the others are playing basketball, and Gojo doesn't care that the normies are affected because it's not like they can see cursed spirits anyways. But Getou argues that the strong must protect the weak and they need to calm the locals. That's when they need to conceal the threats as much as possible. Gojo dunks the basketball, telling him that it's a drag looking out for the weak. But Getou is tone set that sorcerers must protect the normies, though Gojo doesn't like his moral argument. Gojo tells him to stop making himself feel better by spouting BS, and well, Shoko is already out of here. Getou tells him take it outside, but Gojo asks him if he's lonely. Just then, Yaga arrives and immediately the two act as if nothing happened. He then informs them of their new mission, though they don't look too happy for it. Tenjin Senpai has asked for them specifically and states it might be too hard for them. Their main goal is to rescue the plasma vessel owner, escort her to the headquarters, and erase her. Gojo can't believe it and wonders if Senpai has finally gone senile. Yaga Senpai explains that Tenjin Senpai has a cursed technique of immortality, but he's not youthful. No matter how many buttocks he gets, he will turn into an old boomer at one point, and that's when the cursed technique will cause him to evolve into another being, a higher form of existence. Gojo, on the other hand, says that it sounds cool as heck and they should go with it. But Tenjin-sama worries that in that state he won't have any more willpower, and he won't be able to strengthen the barriers around the jujutsu world. And the entire world will feel the effect, even normies. He could even become a threat to humanity itself. So that's why every 500 years he has to combine with a plasma vessel. And that will renew his body and reset his clock. Gojo tries to use his remaining brain cells and realizes that he just needs to keep Matter Greymon from turning into Skull Greymon by keeping it as a Koraman. Getou wonders if he's on the spectrum and decides to go with his example. Yaga explains that the star vessel has been found and a group is after it. Two groups are after it. One of them worships Tenjin-sama as a god and the other just wants to hunt the girl. So their task is to retrieve her. They decide to split up. After all, they are the strongest, so it won't be an issue for them. Though Getou cringes at that and cautions him that he shouldn't be so over-cocky. Getou decides to go to the location of the plasma vessel but finds an explosion instead. He uses a cursed spirit to shield himself and looks at the girl falling from a high-rise building. He manages to rescue her and looks at an enemy sorcerer challenging him to a fight. Another sorcerer faces Gojo and Gojo tells him that if he begs like a little girl, he'll let him keep his life. Several meters away, another man asks Daddy Zenin if he wants to throw hands as well. Though Zenin tells him that's not his name no more since he took his wife's, announcing that his name is now Fushiguro, but he's in the mood for it. Meanwhile, one of Getou's creepy pets has Koken pinned down, one arm flailing uselessly against the spirit's gross attempts at slobbery kisses like those from your ex. Getou, on the other hand, is brewing tea, pretending he doesn't exist honestly. Nearby, Riko and her lady Misato nap peacefully on a couch. Mission nap, success. Koken screams his head off about Bayer, Q's big shot, who's gonna make Getou pay.
Are you sure about that?
Getou sips his tea, suddenly fascinated by the ceiling cracks. His phone buzzes, and it's a pic from Gojo where Bayer looked like he tried to arm wrestle a tornado and lost badly. Getou flashes the pic with a smile that's way too sweet for the situation. Meanwhile, this shady middleman Shu Kong finds Toji Fushiguro, the so-called sorcerer killer, doing his usual thing, losing cash betting on horses. Shu wonders why Toji ain't hunting the star plasma vessel girl. Toji, mouth full of cheap Mexican snacks, shrugs. Can't just walk up to Gojo, that's asking for a face remodeling. He's using that fat deposit from the Time Vessel Association in his own mysterious way. And well, he loses another bet. Shu tells him maybe stick to offing people rather than horses. As he leaves, Shu asks about Megumi. Toji blanks. Megumi sounds like a fancy sushi roll. He definitely deserves Dad of the Year award. Back at their crappy safe house hotel, Gojo and Getou stare at the still-out cold Riko. They wonder, maybe call a normie doctor. They miss Shoko, but her trying to explain reverse curse technique is like teaching a 32-year-old unemployed need about responsibility. Suddenly, Riko wakes up swinging, clocks Gojo right in the jaw. She scrambles back, ready to throw hands, yelling at these tall weirdos to back off. Misato bursts in and just facepalms. She lets her know they're the good guys and won't harm her, well maybe. Gojo checks out Riko, clearly not impressed. This is the vessel merging with ancient Tenjin. He expected someone more magical and less weak. Riko still puffs up her chest, proudly declaring, she is Tenjin, Tenjin is her, besties forever. The boys ignore her completely, whispering jokes about her definitely not having any friends at school. One joke hits home, Riko remembers school and begins missing her classes. Gojo argues it's way too dangerous, and they should just hurry up and get her to her destination. But Yaga calls relaying Tenjin's orders to make the vessel happy and take her to school. Misato adds quietly that Riko lost her family young, and that her last day matters especially with friends. Getou gives a rare real smile, reminding Misato that she is her family as well. Gojo asks about Geto's cursed spirits watching the outside, and he reveals that actually 2 of them just got deleted from existence. Meanwhile, Toji is shoveling noodles in some greasy diner, eyes glued to more horse races. He used that fat deposit to slap a massive bounty on Riko's head all over the curse user dark web. His plan is to let the low-level freaks swarm around the vessel, as his ultimate plan is to have the annoying flies buzzing around Gojo tire him out and he finishes the mission. Shu calls, mega irritated. The girl ain't a jujutsu high. If some rando bounty hunter bags her first, Toji loses his deposit and the big payout. The association will probably just say they could have used the bounty themselves and screw him over. Toji tells him that Satoru Gojo possesses both the 6 eyes and Limitless, and well, honestly, nobody is trying to deal with all that. So keep the bounty up for exactly 47 more hours and hangs up the whining. At Riko's Fancy Pants Junior High, Getou finds trouble. Some old curse user in a weird uniform summons 2 bargain bin Shikigami like bootleg action figures. Getou spots a third one hidden behind the guy. Saw the uniform, knew he'd expect Jujutsu High backup. The old man sneers, thinking that Getou's scared of a real fight, hiding behind spirits. Getou smirks as he couldn't be more wrong. He snaps his fingers and a giant, slimy worm curse pops up, fills the hallway, and swallows the dude whole with a Gok Gok 3000. Getou turns to bounce, but the old man bursts through a window behind him, thinking he's slick. Gotcha. Nope. Getou spins around. He wanted him close. What followed wasn't a fight, it was a beatdown. Getou throws hands and the old man probably saw his whole boring life flash before his eyes. Getou stands over the groaning mess and wonders if the old man is one of Q leftovers or time vessel groupies. Meanwhile, Gojo bursts into Riko's music classes and suddenly everyone stops what they are doing. Every girl starts to wonder if that's Riko's boyfriend and she attempts to say he's her cousin. Every girl was heads over heels for him. Even the teacher who pretended not to care, but attempted to slip him her number. And honestly, Gojo wasn't making the situation any better. He grabs it irritated off Riko, telling her that the field trip's over and danger time starts. She's mad, but gets it when he says he doesn't want her friends to be turned into cursed confetti. Outside, a curse user wearing a seriously creepy sack mask watches them leave. However, Misato steps up and lands a shockingly good and strategic low blow. Getou shows up, impressed, realizing she's stronger than he thought. He shares the info that there's a big bounty on Riko that expires tomorrow, 11 AM, and it's part of a dark web special offer. As Getou says, curse user, sack mask guy's body just melts like hot wax. Weird. Getou calls Gojo fast to tell him that the melty guy should be there any second. But it's too late. Gojo and Riko are surrounded by 4 identical sack mask clones. A 5th pops up. Gojo grins as he doesn't fear getting jumped. After all, this is Jujutsu Jumpsun. With a burst of blue energy, he slams one clone into another. 2 more charge and they bounce off from his infinity. Gojo explains about the guy's shadow clone move in teaching style 101. He can create 5 clones max and can swap which ones are real anytime. He agrees it's a neat trick but overall is stupid. The curse user, on the other hand, freaks out. How did he know? Gojo just taps his 6 eyes. He even starts showing off, explaining his own blue stuff. The curse user panics and tries to run. Gojo uses blue again, yanking all the clones together. He tries reversal, red, and fails completely. Still, Gojo only shrugs, since the move he was going to use always fails one way or another. He just walks over and punches the real one into Dreamland. Riko, floating beside him like a lost balloon, checks her phone and as her face goes ghost white, a message lights up the screen: Misato's has been captured. Kuroi herself urges Getou to team up with Gojo to save Riko. Getou, acknowledging his mistake, discusses the probable moves the kidnappers might make in the upcoming negotiations. Gojo recognizes that the kidnappers will likely offer an exchange or order him to harm Riko, using Kuroi's life as leverage. With Riko in their possession, Gojo and Getou plan to turn the tables during the exchange. However, Riko, still grappling with trust issues, refuses to be part of the strategic play. Despite her reluctance, Gojo and Getou successfully rescue Kuroi without compromising their position. Amidst the turmoil, Riko and Gojo find a moment of peace on the beach, enjoying their time together. While Getou works on comforting a guilt-ridden Kuroi, Riko and Gojo engage in seaside playfulness. splashing water and creating memories. Gojo, in his peculiar way, suggests sightseeing to show consideration for Riko, revealing a softer side beneath his sorcerer exterior. Back in Okinawa, Getou grapples with the mystery of why the kidnappers chose this location for the exchange. Seeking assistance, he calls for backup. Jujutsu High's Nanami Kento and Hibara Yu arrive at Okinawa Airport, ready to lend their expertise. The clock is ticking, and the deadline looms if Riko doesn't reach Jujutsu High in time. While Getou and Kuroi strategize on ensuring Riko's safe return, Riko and Gojo revel in their seaside escapade. The news that playtime is over momentarily upsets Riko, but Gojo's decision to head back the next morning, coupled with the knowledge that there are fewer curse users in Okinawa, brings a sense of relief and happiness. As the group returns to Jujutsu High, the time limit on the bounty on Riko's head ticks away while they're in mid-flight. Getou, aware of Gojo's relentless use of techniques without rest, expresses concern. Seemingly less worried with Getou by his side, reminisces about their kayaking adventures, visits to flower fields, and Riko's evening at the aquarium. Upon their arrival inside Jujutsu High's barrier, situated in the foothills of Mount Mashiro, Getou praises for his hard work. However, the tranquility shatters when Toji, the enigmatic sorcerer, suddenly pierces Gojo's chest. Getou is bewildered by Toji's ability to breach the Jujutsu High barrier. Toji, revealing his previous encounter with Gojo and his plan to wear him down, strikes again. However, Toji misses vital points when Getou intervenes. Despite the attack, Gojo urges Getou to ensure the safety of Kuroi, and Riko, confident in his own abilities, in a shocking revelation, informs Toji that the bounty on Riko's head has been lifted, unaware that Toji was the one who initiated it. The confrontation intensifies as Toji, devoid of cursed energy but armed with unparalleled physical prowess, proves a formidable adversary. Gojo grapples with Toji's relentless attacks, utilizing his infinity technique to defend against the relentless strikes. Toji employs a swarm of fly head curses to create a blind spot, exploiting the distraction to land a lethal blow on Gojo. Amidst this chaotic battle, Getou, Riko, and Kuroi arrive at the grounds of Jujutsu High. Kuroi departs from Riko, and they set foot in Tenjin's territory. Getou explains the gravity of the decision before Riko to choose assimilation or return home. The main hall of the Tomb of the Star awaits her, a special barrier accessible only to invited individuals. Just as Riko contemplates her decision, tragedy strikes. Toji, the relentless assassin, shoots Riko dead, shattering the moment of contemplation. In a surge of grief and rage, Getou unleashes all his cursed spirits on Toji, who chillingly declares the death of Gojo. The confrontation between Getou and Toji escalates as the true extent of Toji's abilities comes to light. Despite Getou's attempts to attack with cursed spirits, Toji effortlessly annihilates them. Toji reveals his unique method of countering sorcerers who rely on cursed energy, his own lack of it, combined with a cursed tool that prevents him from being invisible to cursed spirits. Toji keeps a cursed spirit capable of storing objects within his body, allowing him to conceal cursed tools and avoid detection by other sorcerers. Getou, realizing the threat Toji poses, refrains from using cursed tools initially. The two clash, and Getou's anger rises upon suspecting that Toji may have killed Kuroi as well. In a desperate move, Getou employs a cursed spirit using domain expansion to distract Toji and create an opportunity to absorb Toji's cursed spirit. However, Toji's incredible speed foils this attempt, and he inflicts multiple cuts on Getou. Although the cuts are not fatal, the situation becomes dire. Getou resorts to presenting the lifeless body of Riko Aminai, the Star Plasma Vessel, as a means of negotiation. Toji, affiliated with the Star Religious Group, receives a bonus from the founder of the group upon confirming Riko's demise. The Star Religious Group, founded during the Nara era, follows a different moral code than traditional Jujutsu sorcerers. They remain non-users of Jujutsu but are deeply devoted to their unique set of beliefs. As the founder of the Star Religious Group stands, they begin wrapping Riko's corpse, signaling the commencement of a taboo recorded in their scriptures, the time for their object of worship to assimilate with the perceived impurity. Toji's unexpected intervention becomes their saving grace, as his calculated plan to kidnap Kuroi and wear down Gojo unfolds. As the mediator and Toji exit the Star Religious Group's building, Toji finds himself walking alone. Suddenly, he encounters Gojo standing right in front of him. Toji, unable to believe that Gojo is alive and well, prepares to attack. However, Gojo reveals that he utilized the negative curse technique against the negative, creating a positive energy that regenerated him. The two engage in a swift and intense exchange. However, Toji is only thinking, this man's is officially tweaking. Toji charges at Gojo, confident in his ability to handle Gojo's three techniques: stop, attract, and repel. However, Gojo effortlessly dodges Toji's attacks, reflecting on his newfound appreciation for the beauty of the world. Gojo's realization dawns. Toji is from the Zenin clan, explaining Toji's familiarity with Gojo's techniques. In a surprising turn, Gojo unveils a new technique by merging the amplified and reversal techniques, creating an imaginary purple technique. This technique punches a hole through Toji, demolishing half of his body. In his dying moments, Toji cryptically informs Gojo that his child will be sold to the Zenin clan in the coming years, leaving Gojo with a grim revelation. Toji dies standing on his legs, his cursed spirit crawling towards Getou. Gojo, now arriving with Riko's lifeless body, stands before Getou. However, Getou struggles to believe that the person before him is truly Gojo. Despite Gojo's desire to exact vengeance on the star religious group, Getou opposes this dark inclination. The year after the intense confrontation between Gojo, Getou, and Toji, Gojo, now recognized as the strongest sorcerer of his age, is engaged in refining his jujutsu technique. He demonstrates an automatic selection of targets for his technique, aiming to discern the danger level of objects based on various factors like cursed energy strength, mass, velocity, and shape. Gojo's goal is to extend the duration of his limitless technique with minimal resources. Despite his unparalleled strength, Gojo faces two remaining challenges: mastering domain expansion and teleportation over long distances. He contemplates that these hurdles could be overcome if they could secure courses in Jujutsu High without any obstructions. Gojo is now capable of handling missions alone, relegating Getou to other solo assignments, while Shoko has yet to face difficult missions. Getou, on the other hand, still grapples with the reason for being a sorcerer. After a shower, he encounters Hebara and, in a moment of introspection, asks Hebara if he finds it challenging to continue as a Jujutsu sorcerer. However, Hebara's response doesn't provide the clarity Getou seeks. The two engage in a discussion, and Hebara eventually departs. In a surprising turn of events, a blonde girl appears and questions Getou about his taste in girls.
どんな女がタイプかな?
どちら様ですか?
Getou, intrigued, inquires about her identity, and she introduces herself as special grade sorcerer Yuki Tsukumo. Getou recalls her as someone who never accepts missions, wandering abroad.
特級のくせに任務を全く受けず、海外をプラプラしてる6。
Yuki, sharing her perspective, reveals her disagreement with Jujutsu High's policies.
私、好戦って嫌い。
すねた。
Instead of merely exercising cursed spirits, Yuki aspires to create a world where cursed spirits are not born, a quest to address the root cause rather than treating the symptoms. Yuki Tsukumo, a special grade sorcerer, discussing her research with Getou. Yuki is exploring two potential solutions to the cursed energy dilemma: removing cursed energy from mankind or enabling all humanity to control their cursed energy. She refers to Toji Zenin, who, after a heavenly pact, had zero cursed energy but developed a resistance to curses, perceiving them with his 5 senses. Yuki, aiming to study Toji, emphasizes the rarity of individuals with heavenly pacts. Yuki leans toward the second option, making it possible for all humanity to control cursed energy. She shares her findings with Getou, explaining that Jujutsu sorcerers leak minimal cursed energy compared to non-sorcerers. Yuki suggests forcing non-sorcerers to adapt and evolve into sorcerers, potentially eradicating the birth of curses. Surprisingly, Getou agrees with this approach, expressing his frustration with the wavering value of non-sorcerers in his mind. Yuki warns Getou that whatever choice he makes will shape his future stance, either to hate or protect non-sorcerers. Yuki departs,
タイプ聞いてね。
assuring Getou not to worry about the star plasma vessel, suggesting that either another vessel exists or a new one has been born, ensuring Tenjin's stability. Meanwhile, Nanami is frustrated with a failed mission resulting in the death of Yubi Sanagami. Getou advises Nanami to calm down. Getou then handles a case involving 2 little girls accused of being monsters by an old couple. Frustrated with the couple's mistreatment, Getou confronts them and ultimately massacres 112 villagers using his curse manipulation. Gojo is handed a report of the incident by Yaga-sensei, and Getou is sentenced to death. Gojo is given the mission to execute Getou. In the city, Getou meets Shoko, confirming the charges against him. He calmly expresses his desire to create a world exclusively for sorcerers. Gojo arrives on the scene, yelling at Getou for having an impossible dream. Despite Gojo's anger, he cannot bring himself to attack Getou. Getou reveals that he has joined and taken over the star religious group, killing its president. As tensions rise, Gojo goes after Megumi Fushiguro, the son of Toji Zenin. He attempts to explain about his clan and Megumi's father, but Megumi shows no interest. Gojo then wakes up from the dream, finding himself with Megumi, Itadori, and Kyujisaki. The story takes a dark turn as Getou's actions and beliefs clash with the established order, and Gojo faces the challenge of dealing with his former friend and the consequences of his choices. The story continues with Itadori, Kyujisaki, and Megumi discussing their plans. Megumi decides to go home, while Itadori suggests watching a horror movie, but Kyujisaki opts for shopping instead. Ai Todo and Meimei recommend Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, Maki Zenin, Panda, and Nobara Kyujisaki for promotion. Those recommended by at least 2 first-grade sorcerers must carry out a mission under an active first-grade or equivalent sorcerer. As they discuss their recommendations, Kyujisaki, returning from shopping, encounters Itadori's classmate, Kuroko Sato. Sato, who used to be small and heavy, has transformed and is interested in Itadori. Kyujisaki calls Megumi to help with the situation.
イタドリって彼女いる?
つまりそういうことか。
ええ、そういうことよ。
彼女はまずいないだろう。
And they arrange for Itadori to meet them at a family restaurant. Itadori arrives promptly and recognizes Sato. Despite Kyujisaki's initial concern about Itadori acting stupid, he handles the situation well, impressing Megumi and Kyujisaki.
ひぐ
Sato, who has always disliked other boys except Itadori, leaves in the evening without exchanging contacts with Itadori. Later, Itadori takes them to a movie. Meanwhile, Gojo has left the investigation of Kyoto to Yudaheim, who gathers Megumi, Itadori, and Kyujisaki for a mission. Yudaheim, suspicious of Mekamaru, goes after the real body of Mekamaru in the basement, discovering that the real Mekamaru is Kikichi Muta. As Yudaheim, Itadori, and the others investigate Mekamaru's basement, Yudaheim explains that Mekamaru's technique involves puppet manipulation, and due to his heavenly pact, he can control puppets throughout all of Japan. This ability makes him a potential mole capable of leaking information to enemy cursed users. Upon opening the gate, they find nothing, confirming Mekamaru's suspicious activities. Meanwhile, Getou and Mahito have reached Mekamaru's real body. Mekamaru has agreed to provide information to Getou and Mahito in exchange for Getou using Mahito's ideal transfiguration to fix Mekamaru's body. The agreement includes Getou fixing Mekamaru first and then killing him. Mekamaru, however, does not want to owe any debts to cursed spirits and insists that Mahito fix him first. As Mahito begins the process, Mekamaru creates multiple puppets to attack Mahito. Mahito swiftly destroys all the puppets, but when he looks back at Mekamaru, he has disappeared. A massive blast occurs, and a giant puppet emerges from the water with Mekamaru inside it. Getou has lowered a veil that cuts off signals, forcing Mekamaru to use any means necessary to contact Gojo and inform him about the Shibuya plot. Mekamaru's plan is to have Gojo protect him. Realizing the danger posed by Mahito, Mekamaru decides to exorcise him. Mekamaru has accumulated 17 years worth of cursed energy and dedicates 1 year of it to unleash the Ultra Cannon, a powerful attack aimed at Mahito. In the fiery clash between Mahito and Mekamaru, the battlefield became a spectacle of intense moves and cunning strategies. Now, Mekamaru, armed with 2 years worth of cursed energy, unleashes the Miracle Cannon, hoping to lure Mahito into a dodging spree. But Mahito, seemingly unfazed, continues his assault, as if he's got better things to do than pay attention to Mekamaru's fireworks. In a surprising turn, Mekamaru injects Mahito with a shot that turns the whole encounter into a chaotic explosion. Mahito, bewildered by Mekamaru's unexpected attack, finds himself airborne after a powerful kick. Little did he know, the injected shot played havoc with his very soul. Just when you think Mekamaru has this in the bag, Mahito pulls off a masterstroke, tweaking the shape of his soul to make it appear regenerated. The guy literally flies away in the form of a bird. Enter Getou, impressed by Mekamaru's meticulous preparation. This could be the moment for Getou to seize the day. Mekamaru, undeterred, launches the Pigeon Viola, an attack that's like the cursed energy version of a guided missile system. No matter where Mahito hides or what shape he takes, these cannons are locked and loaded. Mahito, not one to back down, rushes Mekamaru. It's a soulful struggle as Mahito tries to figure out which of Mekamaru's attacks will actually make a dent in his metaphysical self. As if the chaos wasn't enough, Mekamaru goes all out with a 5-year investment, the special attack Pigeon Viola. This time, it's multiple cannons on steroids. It's a visual feast of explosive chaos. Just when Mekamaru thinks he's got the upper hand, Mahito unleashes his ace, the domain expansion of self-embodiment of perfection. Mekamaru finds himself pinned down as Mahito, with an air of superiority, begins the ideal transfiguration. Mahito advises Mekamaru to keep his strategy free of hopes and dreams. Mekamaru unleashes the forbidden, the new shadow style, simple domain. It pierces through Mahito, neutralizing all other techniques.
Yes!
Getou and Mahito made their exit, leaving Mekamaru defeated.
No! God, please, no!
But not without a final, calculated move. As they retreated, Getou managed to pilfer the remaining cursed energy from Mekamaru, a sly maneuver to add more power to their dark arsenal. As the eerie events unfolded, the story shifted to a different scene. It's 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2018. And Tokyo's department store outlet becomes the center of an unexpected supernatural disturbance. A mysterious 400-meter radius veil descends, enveloping the area and trapping normal people within its confines. Meanwhile, sorcerers and assistant supervisors can move freely, but communication signals are blocked. The setting turns chaotic as people attending the Shibuya Halloween festival find themselves inexplicably drawn into the veil. It's a spectacle of confusion and panic as the supernatural force works its mysterious charm. Among those on the scene are seasoned sorcerers like Nido Nanami, Takuma Ino, and Megumi Fushiguro. Meanwhile, Naobito Zenin, Maki Zenin, and Kyujisaki Nobara appear at different locations inside the veil. Outside the veil, Jujutsu High's second-year teacher and grade 1 sorcerer, Atsuya Kusakabe, along with Panda, discuss the situation. They talk about the unusual decision to send Gojo alone to restore order in Shibuya. The rest of the teams are on standby, ready to catch any potential rebounds caused by Gojo's actions. Curiosity and concern intensify as Atsuya peeks inside the veil, revealing no immediate threat of cursed spirits or users wreaking havoc. However, the situation takes a sudden turn as the trapped people begin calling out for Gojo. It becomes clear that the veil won't allow anyone to leave until Gojo himself arrives inside. In a dramatic moment, Gojo, seemingly summoned by the calls, appears inside the veil. The story takes an intriguing twist, leaving readers on the edge of their seats, wondering how Gojo will navigate this mysterious and potentially perilous situation. As Gojo casually strolls atop the heads of trapped individuals within the subway, Mei Mei, Yu and Itadori receive urgent information about another veil.
家族という雇用関係でしょよくわかっているじゃないか。
早く行こうよ。
This time, it's centered beneath the Meiji Shrine Station, trapping non-sorcerers in its mysterious confines. Mei Mei, being ordered to handle the situation, swiftly takes charge. Meanwhile, Gojo encounters Jogo, Choso, and Hanami, and the assistant supervisor explains the dire situation to Mei Mei and Itadori. They learn that 2 assistant supervisors have already fallen, and transfigured humans lurk between 2 barriers. Mei Mei employs a crow to stealthily infiltrate the underground subway, but the crow is swiftly smashed by a powerful cursed spirit. Facing a critical decision, Mei Mei presents Itadori with a choice to either confront numerous weak transfigured humans or a formidable cursed spirit. Armed with a map detailing the platform layout, Mei Mei informs Itadori of the transfigured humans' locations. The cursed spirit responsible for taking down the crow likely resides on the 2nd floor. With a calculated plan, Mei Mei decides to take exit 7 directly to the 4th floor to rescue civilians, while Itadori will enter the 2nd floor. As Itadori steps into the 2nd floor, he encounters a cursed spirit resembling a grasshopper.
Oh, wait, you're one of those jujutsu. Jojo Genie. No, that's not it. Jujutsu sorcerer, right?
Curious about Mahito's location, Itadori questions the grasshopper, who claims to be protecting the veil on the lower floor. However, suspicion arises in Itadori as the grasshopper appears responsible for the veil and barrier. Suddenly, Itadori notices a nail in the ground, similar to those used by Getou. Wary of the suspicious object, he decides to destroy it first. Itadori's punch sends the grasshopper crashing down. But to his surprise, it gets back up and launches a relentless counterattack. Itadori, demonstrating agility, dodges the grasshopper's strikes and steps closer, initiating a fierce fistfight against the 4-fisted adversary. In a relentless barrage of strikes, Itadori pummels the grasshopper cursed spirit, breaking its stretched abdomen and instilling fear in the creature. As Itadori shatters the cursed object, the veil is lifted, revealing Mei Mei, Yu and Itadori on the last floor. However, outside, Jogo takes a strategic stance, blocking the exit to prevent Gojo from escaping. Although Gojo has no intention of fleeing, Jogo has a different plan in mind. He surrounds Gojo with non-sorcerers, creating a grim situation. The trio of Jogo, Hanami, and Choso initiates a ruthless attack on the non-sorcerers, creating chaos. Amidst the chaos, Choso targets Gojo with his blood manipulation, creating a temporary blind spot. The blood fades in the air, and the trio charges forward, intending to unleash a combined assault on Gojo. To counter, Gojo slows down their attack, forcing them to utilize domain amplification and continue their offensive from opposite sides. In a surprising move, Gojo suddenly disappears from between Jogo and Hanami. Unable to use his domain expansion due to the large number of non-sorcerers present, Gojo faces the challenge of navigating this complex battlefield.
いやー、正直驚いたよ。
Jogo realizes that their best chance is to keep Gojo focused on defeating cursed spirits and rescuing non-sorcerers. Unveiling his eyes by removing his blindfold, Gojo intensifies the stakes. The situation becomes a chess match between Jogo and Gojo. Meanwhile, Getou watches from the shadows, instructing Jogo to hold Gojo's attention for 20 minutes. After that, Getou plans to handle Gojo with the formidable prison realm technique. Gojo boldly points at Hanami, declaring his intent to take him down first. With a swift jump down the steps, Gojo challenges both Hanami and Jogo simultaneously, showcasing his unparalleled power. In a dazzling display of skill, Gojo overwhelms them, ripping off Jogo's arm with ease. It becomes clear that Gojo's earlier decorations were a misdirection, as he abandons the use of his limitless technique, focusing on compact attacks using cursed energy manipulation within the crowded space filled with humans. Despite Hanami attempting to utilize his technique, Gojo swiftly maneuvers on the roots of Hanami, reaching him and ripping off his horns. While Choso continues beheading humans, Gojo suspects him to be one of the incarnated death painting wombs. Jogo, attempting to attack Gojo, finds himself dismissed with casual indifference. Gojo explains to Jogo that the more he tries to neutralize Gojo's technique with domain amplification, the stronger Gojo must maintain his technique. Turning his attention to Hanami, Gojo crushes him using his repelling technique. Jogo attempts to distract Gojo by attacking humans, but it proves futile. Gojo's relentless pursuit ends with Hanami's demise, crushed against the wall. With the need to seal Gojo in the prison realm, Getou sets a daunting task for Jogo and the others. They must keep Gojo within the effective sealing range of 4 meters for at least 1 minute. Although a seemingly impossible task, Getou has a plan in mind. In an attempt to create distance, Jogo employs a hit-and-run strategy, throwing humans at Gojo while urging Choso to assist. Choso, using his blood manipulation, continues to cause chaos among the humans. Gojo unveils his plan to beat them in close combat, acknowledging that he can't save everyone. Instead, he promises to exorcise them. Getou seizes the opportune moment to elevate the stakes against Gojo. A train filled with transfigured humans arrives, adding to the pandemonium as they start attacking people. Mahito, strategically positioned inside the train, removes the ceiling barrier, causing even more chaos as additional humans rain down onto the platform. Choso mercilessly massacres while Mahito continues his transfiguration of humans, plunging the entire area into utter turmoil. Recognizing that Gojo is not one to rely on emotions, but rather on cold logic, Getou knows he needs to push Gojo to the edge. In a desperate move to regain control, Gojo finally unleashes his domain expansion, the Infinite Void.
領域展開無料空所
It's a risky gamble, lasting only 0.2 of a second, a limit set purely on instinct by Gojo. Within this brief moment, a massive influx of information is imparted to the non-sorcerers and transfigured humans present, a calculated attempt to shock them into a state of awareness. Though Gojo dismisses his domain expansion, the aftermath is swift and brutal. In a mere 299 seconds, the strongest sorcerer of the modern age ruthlessly slaughters roughly 1,000 transfigured humans, sparing no mercy. However, amidst the chaos, Gojo notices the prison realm object on the floor. Before he can react, Getou materializes, freezing Gojo in his tracks. Memories flood Gojo's mind as he grapples with the reality that the person standing before him is not Getou. In a shocking revelation, Getou opens the stitches on his head, revealing a gruesome sight as he removes his own skull. He explains to Gojo that this is his unique technique, an ability to pass from one body to another by replacing the host's brain with his own. This grants him the capability to utilize the techniques etched into the bodies he inhabits. Getou tells Gojo, declaring his intent to seal him away for 1,000 years. Gojo, trapped and confronted with the unimaginable, struggles against the overwhelming reality. Meanwhile, the news reaches Yuuji, informing him of Gojo's apparent sealing, leaving a lingering sense of uncertainty. In a sudden turn of events, Mechamaru reveals his true identity as the object in Itadori's ear. He informs Itadori that Gojo has been sealed. Unexpectedly, Getou's right arm rebels against him, strangling its own body, a first-time occurrence where a body resists Getou's control. As the situation becomes increasingly chaotic, Mechamaru explains that the prison realm is no longer usable since it can now hold only one person, and the block in Getou's hands becomes too heavy and falls, breaking it. The veil begins to shake as Getou struggles with the weight of the information processed from Gojo's sealed state. Mechamaru counts on everyone to act, instructing Mei to follow his insurance plan and urging Itadori to escape. Two powerful cursed spirits, stronger than the grasshopper, approach Mei and Itadori. Mechamaru pleads with Mei to follow his instructions, and she agrees, unleashing her battle axe to face the incoming threats. Nanami, an assistant supervisor, decides to confront the user who lowered the veil, instructing Megumi and others to rescue common people. All three teams enter the veil, but an assistant supervisor is fatally stabbed by a cursed user, Urahime. The prison realm is still processing information about Gojo, rendering Getou unable to move him. Mechamaru's second object, however, is discovered and destroyed by Mahito. Mechamaru relays the information to Itadori, instructing him to inform all sorcerers to cover Shibuya Station's exits. Itadori enters the veil, encountering transfigured humans, and contacts Nanami to inform him of Gojo's sealing. Nanami, Megumi, and Ino adjust their plans and decide to meet Itadori. Meanwhile, Choso and Mahito harbor their own intentions regarding Itadori. Getou, confident about Gojo's sealing, considers Sukuna an alternative plan. Team Nanami arrives, and Itadori reveals Mechamaru's existence inside Getou's body. Shibuya Station is overrun with cursed spirits, and Nanami instructs Megumi, Ino, and Itadori to meet Team Zenin, inform them of the situation, and request their assistance. Nanami takes charge of handling the situation with Ajichi. Ino emphasizes the critical need to save Gojo at any cost, stressing the potential catastrophic consequences if they fail. Yuuji, with the subtlety of a wrecking ball, decides to introduce his fist to the veil, leaving Ino wide-eyed at the sheer force. Megumi, always the strategist, suggests they play a game of find the weak spot in the unbeatable veil, and poke a hole in it, even if it's just for a nanosecond. Yuuji, in a moment of brilliant deduction, recalls the Hakajuku incident and posits that the veil dropper is probably lurking outside, not wanting to risk being caught in the act. Our trio of heroes concludes that the mysterious curtain lower must be standing out like a sore thumb somewhere, supporting the barrier. Central Tower of Shibuya becomes the suspected hiding spot. Channeling their inner Spider-Men, Yuuji and Ino ascend the tower with Maki's Zen and strings, only to discover cursed nails embedded in the ground, strategically placed by the veil's manipulator. Ino, like a cursed detective, removes one nail, but alas, the veil persists. The cursed user, now facing off against Yuuji, reveals 2 more nails in his arsenal. As Ino engages in a seance technique straight out of a mystical playbook, Megumi and Yuuji take on the formidable half-bald adversary. Megumi is desperately trying to keep up with Itadori's lightning-fast moves. The half-bald menace seems impervious to damage. Not a scratch on him despite the relentless onslaught. The first grandson, in a noble attempt to protect Granny Ogami, throws everything he's got. Granny Ogami's aura undergoes a sudden transformation, and the grandson witnesses a mind-bending sight, something that morphs into half Zen and Toji. December 7, 1989, marked the entrance of chaos into the world, as the unstoppable force that is Gojo graced the earth with his presence. Meanwhile, the elderly Granny Ogami and her grandsons, former assassins with a penchant for completing contracts, found themselves facing a task beyond their usual routine. Their mission: eliminate a child born with 6 eyes, the reward tempting them with a staggering bounty of over 100 million yen. Little did they know, the balance of power in their world was about to be rewritten. As the narrative unfolds, the half-bald assailant retaliates with a vengeance, engaging in a fierce exchange of blows with Megumi. In the midst of the battle, Megumi uncovers the mysterious technique employed by the bald adversary, a revelation that adds a strategic layer to the skirmish. Meanwhile, the imposter Toji ruthlessly handles Ino, leaving our protagonists, Megumi and Yuuji, to confront the half-bald adversary. Surprising everyone, Yuuji displays a level of power that catches the half-baldy off guard. Megumi, the tactician, employs a hit-and-run strategy to mess with the baldy's head, quite literally. The unique twist in the adversary's technique is revealed. The more powerful the attacks against him, the weaker they become. Armed with this knowledge, Megumi, with a touch of clairvoyance, envisions the future through a swarm of hairs. Utilizing a small frog spirit, Megumi weakens the half-baldy before launching a barrage of deceptively feeble-looking blows. It's a strategic dance that culminates in the triumphant defeat of the formidable half-baldy. As Nanami approached exit number 13, the grim sight of the assistant supervisor's lifeless body greeted him, a stark reminder of the perilous situation. Meanwhile, Mei showcased her formidable prowess by dispatching 2 cursed spirits with brutal efficiency, reducing them to mere memories. The cursed user, faced with impending doom, found himself pleading for mercy from the merciless Mei. Megumi and Yuuji, determined to lift the veil restricting sorcerers, witnessed Ino's unexpected fall from the central tower. Reacting with lightning speed, they both rushed to catch him, a display of teamwork amidst the chaos. However, the situation took an unforeseen turn when the real Toji took control of the grandson's body, leaving the old hag perplexed. The grandson, now a puppet to Toji's will, received a chilling order to eliminate the sorcerers, starting with the old hag herself. Maki, showing leadership in the face of adversity, directed Nida and Kyujisaki to move towards Ajichi-san, while Megumi stayed by Ino's side. Yuuji, undeterred, decided to venture further into the station, braving the unknown. Elsewhere, Mei, always with an eye for profit, contemplated how she could turn a favor for Gojo into a lucrative opportunity. The cursed user, previously wreaking havoc on assistant supervisors, now found himself facing the formidable duo of Nida and Kyujisaki. The cursed sword with a hand for its handle became a sinister instrument in the cursed user's hands, creating a perilous dance between him and Kyujisaki. In the midst of the chaos, Nida suffered injuries, and Kyujisaki valiantly fought to regain control. Just when the tide seemed dire, Nanami burst onto the scene, his serious demeanor signaling a force to be reckoned with. Stripping off his tie, Nanami approached the cursed user, demanding information about his allies. The cursed user, like a ragdoll, was sent flying by Nanami's punches, begging for forgiveness and revealing crucial details before being expelled from the scene. However, the situation escalated as Getou appeared before Mei, choosing not to engage directly but summoning a special grade disease-cursed spirit, the smallpox deity, which ensnared Mei in a domain expansion coffin. The excitement of facing a true threat rekindled within Mei as she awaited her next move. Nanami, in the meantime, informed Nida of Ajichi's demise and headed towards Maki Zenin to lend his support. As Yuuji pressed further into Shibuya Station, he found himself face to face with Choso, driven by a burning desire for vengeance against the one he deemed responsible for his brother's death, Yuuji Itadori. The stage is set for a clash of wills and curses in the heart of Shibuya. As Yuuji strolled towards Shibuya Station, he witnessed these funky transformed humans attacking the regular folks. Out of the blue, Senior Inumaki showed up, and Yuuji, being the smart cookie he is, decided to delegate the situation to him. Upon entering Shibuya Station, lo and behold, he bumps into Choso. Choso, the blood maestro, unleashed his piece de resistance, the blood manipulation conversion. convergence. This technique squishes blood to the max, focuses it at a single point, and hurls it at Yuuji. Like a boss, Yuuji deftly dodges the blood beam and zooms in on Choso, delivering a punch with a double impact. But wait, Choso's got a burning question for Yuuji. Did his brother have any profound last words before Yuuji sent them to the great beyond? Yuuji, initially puzzled, there was nothing specific, just some tears shed in their final moments. This revelation sends Choso into a rage, and he unleashes another onslaught. Yuuji, being the resilient lad he is, dodges some attacks but gets a beating in the close combat department. Choso, being the blood connoisseur, absorbs the spilled blood, leaving Yuuji pondering his next move. Our hero starts analyzing Choso's attacks, and with a burst of inspiration, he lures Choso into attacking after a gravity-defying jump. Dodging the blood beam, Yuuji charges towards Choso, having figured out that the beam is only lightning fast during launch. Just as victory seems within Yuuji's grasp, small blood bombs behind him explode, giving Choso the perfect chance to stab Yuuji's feet. Despite the pain, Yuuji manages to land 2 kicks on Choso's head before getting stabbed in the belly by Choso's blood beam. In the midst of agony, Yuuji hears Mekamaru's voice, providing information on the Kamo family's blood manipulation. Unfortunately, Mekamaru doesn't know any weaknesses but suggests a rather intriguing idea: hide in the bathroom. Choso, thinking Yuuji's antics are foolish, hears a voice from the bathroom mocking his brothers, fueling his fury. Mekamaru meets his demise, but Yuuji, in a stroke of brilliance, destroys all the bathroom nulls, causing a rain of diluting blood. Now, Yuuji has control in the bathroom, setting the stage for a close-quarters showdown. Choso and Yuuji engage in a fierce exchange of blows, showcasing their martial prowess. Just when victory seems imminent for Yuuji, Choso pulls a sneaky move, compressing his blood to the max and piercing Yuuji's liver. Yuuji, not one to back down easily, has only hit Choso 3 times but managed to inflict severe damage, breaking one of Choso's teeth. Choso, weighing the risks, decides that Yuuji's existence is a greater threat than his own demise from extreme techniques. The 2 fighters trade multiple blows, and Choso nearly pierces through Yuuji's head, with Choso creating blood explosions near Yuuji's eyes, blinding him in the left eye. Yuuji makes a bold move, a left-handed punch using the right hand as bait. Choso lands multiple fatal blows, seemingly on the verge of victory, when Sukuna, the cheeky devil, mocks Yuuji for falling to someone like Choso. Just as Choso is about to deliver the finishing blow, a flood of non-existent memories invades his mind. Him, Yuuji, and his dead brothers dining together. Talk about a plot twist. Mei found herself grappling with the perilous chicken pox disease curse. Realizing the curse's sneaky tactic of confining her within a coffin and contemplating the dire consequences, she swiftly took refuge behind a gravestone, clutching Yuyu for safety. Mei knew that 2 more attacks would render her immobile, and facing Getou in such a state was not an option she fancied. Analyzing the situation, Mei deduced that the cursed spirit targeted the strongest cursed energy within its domain reflexively. Taking a bold step, she utilized one of her crows to shift her cursed energy. To safeguard herself, Mei made the tough decision to redirect the curse towards Yuyu, knowing he could buy her some precious time. In a poignant moment, Mei asked Yuyu if he could sacrifice himself for her. Showing great courage, Yuyu agreed to the plan and willingly got restrained into the coffin. The moment Yuyu released his cursed energy, Mei suppressed hers. Mei charged towards the cursed spirit, stealthily approaching and skillfully separating its arms from its body with her battle axe. Yuyu, using his shadow-style simple domain to counter the curse's domain. The cursed spirit, about to execute the gravestone move, suddenly vanished, attempting a surprise attack from behind. Mei's last remaining crow intervened with lightning speed, punching a hole right through the cursed spirit. Mei unleashed her blackbird manipulation attack, the kamikaze bird strike. The crow committed suicide in a spectacular display, but Mei removed the limit on its typically feeble cursed energy. This unleashed a force no ordinary man could withstand, with the sole exception of the formidable Gojo. Exiting the domain, Mei found herself face to face with Getou, who stood at a distance, no doubt intrigued by her prowess. Meanwhile, elsewhere at Shibuya Station, Nanami, Maki, and Zenin were making their way down. As they descended, a cursed spirit named Dagon emerged. Zenin seized and delivered a powerful punch, causing Dagon to regurgitate hundreds of human skeletons. Dagon, realizing the death of his comrade Hanami, transformed furiously. The old man Zenin, known for his eccentricities, began teasing Dagon with irrelevant information about FPS. Nanami took the initiative to attack, but all 3 first-grade sorcerers found themselves incapable of inflicting damage on Dagon. The cursed spirit created a defensive water barrier, and despite their concerted efforts, they couldn't make a dent. In a surprising turn, the old man Zenin showcased his unique projection sorcery. Splitting 1 second into 24 frames and allowing him to trace actions within that time frame, Zenin became the fastest sorcerer aside from Gojo. With swift and precise movements, he hindered Dagon's ability to activate his technique, maintaining an overwhelming pace. However, Dagon, undeterred, unleashed his domain expansion, the horizon of the captivating scan, transporting all the sorcerers to a beautiful beach. The battle against Dagon intensified as he unleashed his domain's guaranteed hit attack. Meanwhile, Naobito showcased his secret technique, the art of falling blossom emotions, expertly dodging piranhas that carried the domain's guaranteed hit effect. Dagon, satisfied with testing the strength of the sorcerers, decided to up the stakes. He split his energy in a calculated ratio, allocating 70% for Neobaido and 30% for Nanami. Employing his Death Swarm technique, Dagon summoned sea monsters to assail the sorcerers. Nanami found himself surrounded by colossal fishes, while Neobaido utilized his simple domain to counter the onslaught with his own cursed energy. The tension reached its peak when Dagon, in a swift maneuver, broke Neobaido's simple domain with a powerful punch. Maki suffered a forceful kick, and just when things seemed dire, Megumi entered the scene, punching a hole through the domain to join the fray. Bringing Maki's favorite weapon with him, Megumi unleashed a relentless assault with nunchucks, successfully removing the guaranteed hit effect. Megumi wasted no time deploying his domain, initiating a tug of war against Dagon's forces. The battle now hinged on domain supremacy, with Dagon needing to crush Megumi's domain to regain the guaranteed hit effect. As the clash unfolded, Nanami stepped in to assist Megumi, conveying the current situation. Neobaido, having lost his right arm, and Maki decided to keep Dagon engaged, allowing Megumi the opportunity to create an opening. Megumi diligently worked to poke a hole in the domain, aware that Dagon should not be able to utilize his domain expansion multiple times in a single day. The plan was to escape once the hole was established, putting victory within their grasp. Dagon, however, wasn't one to be outsmarted easily. As Nanami called Maki and Neobaido to assemble, a sudden twist occurred. Toji entered the domain, introducing a new dynamic to the unfolding battle. Toji, seizing Maki's weapon, flung her into the air, sealing the escape hole and surprising Neobaido. The revelation struck. The person before them was none other than Toji. Toji, a man devoid of conventional cursed energy, unleashed his raw strength on Dagon. Brutalizing the cursed spirit with relentless punches, kicks, and throws, Toji demonstrated a prowess that transcended the need for cursed energy. Dagon, having mistaken Toji for a powerless opponent, found himself overwhelmed by the sheer physicality of the onslaught. No matter how many sea monsters Dagon summoned, it seemed insufficient against Toji's relentless assault. In a desperate attempt to gain the upper hand, Dagon dragged Toji underwater, unleashing massive monsters to subdue him. However, Toji massacred the aquatic threats and resurfaced, ready to deliver the finishing blows. Sharpening Maki's nunchucks into a deadly stabbing weapon, Toji left Dagon in disbelief. The cursed spirit couldn't fathom losing to someone lacking in cursed energy. Attempting an escape, Dagon found himself pushed down by Neobaido, and Toji pierced hundreds of holes into Dagon's head with the sharpened nunchucks. With the removal of the domain expansion, Toji approached the group, and Megumi was forcibly ejected from the scene. Jogo's sudden appearance added a new layer to the unfolding chaos. With a fiery onslaught, Jogo knocked out everyone present. As Jogo was about to finish Neobaido, he sensed Sukuna's ominous presence. The revelation that someone had released Sukuna's fingers in Shibuya dawned on them.
Sukuna.
Nanako and Namiko, having given a finger to Sukuna, were targeted by Jogo's flames. In a surprising turn, they managed to save themselves using a technique and captured the moment in a selfie. The markings of Sukuna appeared on Yuji's face as Jogo revealed Geto's plan. If Yuji consumed 10 fingers at once, the control over Sukuna would temporarily shift to the malevolent entity. Jogo, possessing 10 more fingers, fed them all to Yuji. Nanako and Namiko returned to life, but as Jogo prepared to attack them once more, Sukuna intervened, severing Jogo's hand. An overwhelming evil aura emanated from Sukuna, distinct from Gojo's. Sweating in fear, everyone knelt before Sukuna. As Jogo and the others bowed, Nanako made a request. She asked Sukuna to kill the entity inside Geto's body, promising information on another finger in return. Sukuna beheaded Mimiko and dismantled Nanako, shifting his attention to Jogo. Jogo, driven by a desire for Sukuna's complete resurrection, sought a pact with Sukuna before Yuji took control. Sukuna, with his own plans in mind, proposed a challenge to Jogo. If Jogo could land even a single blow on him, Sukuna would work under him. In the tangled chaos of Shibuya, Megumi found himself desperately trying to evade Toji's relentless pursuit. All normal and transfigured humans had been evacuated by Inumaki, leaving Megumi to face the relentless onslaught alone. Utilizing his rapid escape technique, Megumi conjured a swarm of hares to aid in his escape. Sensing the ominous presence of Sukuna and feeling overwhelmed by the complex situation in Shibuya,
I felt Sukuna's presence. What the hell is happening in Shibuya?
Despite his attempts to outmaneuver Toji, running in every direction proved futile as Toji seemingly anticipated every move. Attempts at direct confrontation proved equally fruitless, with Toji effortlessly blocking Megumi's attacks with just one hand. In a desperate move, Megumi summoned hundreds of rabbits to overwhelm Toji. However, Toji responded by crumbling the floor with a single step, reducing the rabbits to flesh with the crumbled stone and dispatching them with precision using his fingers. Meanwhile, Atsuya-sensei continued to procrastinate on the 5th floor, avoiding potential danger. Using the excuse of saving kids possibly trapped within the veil, he successfully misled Panda.
この中の人間は五条だけじゃないでしょうが
As they navigated through Shibuya, they encountered a mysterious warning from a lady and a man, cautioning them against engaging in a fight. Toji persisted in his relentless pursuit of Megumi, who continued to run and dodge the various obstacles thrown at him, including trucks, drainage caps, and other hazardous objects hurled by his own father. At Shibuya Station, Principal Yaga and his subordinate, having healed Ino and Ajichi with her reverse curse technique, covered the floor with transfigured human corpses to avoid detection. Megumi decided to gamble on a risky move, attempting to lure Toji into a position where he could counterattack. However, Toji's speed proved too much and the plan failed. Suddenly, a realization struck Toji. The boy he was relentlessly pursuing was none other than his own son. In a surprising turn of events, Toji asked Megumi for his name. Megumi responded with Fushiguro, avoiding the more problematic Zenin surname. Toji, seemingly content with this answer, shocked everyone by stabbing himself with the nunchuck.
全員じゃねえのか。よかったな。
As Megumi moved towards Misiari, a cursed user hunting assistant supervisors, he faced an unexpected attack. The true subordinates of Getou ordered Atsuya and Panda to surrender, while the unfortunate deaths of Mimiko and Nanako at Sukuna's hands were confirmed. The tension in Shibuya escalated as Atsuya decided to engage with the mysterious foes, initiating his Evening Moon Sword's drawing attack. Just as the confrontation was about to commence, the lights went out, and a colossal explosion rocked the area. Sukuna's laughter echoed ominously, signaling a shift in the unfolding chaos. Jogo, driven by an audacious desire to land a single blow on Sukuna, engaged in a futile attempt. However, Sukuna effortlessly dodged and dismantled Jogo's body parts, showcasing a vast power gap. Jogo, having inquired about Sukuna's strength compared to his fingers, realized the staggering difference, somewhere between 8 or 9 fingers. Jogo unleashed his maximum power, creating a meteor of magma. In a surprising turn of events, Sukuna waited until the final moment and then teleported them to safety, revealing his astounding speed and mastery. Sukuna then challenged Jogo to a fiery showdown, pitting Jogo's best technique, the Ball of Fire, against Sukuna's Arrow of Fire. Jogo, apologizing to Dagon and Hanami for his failure, expressed his desire to meet them in the next life. Sukuna spoke to Jogo in his afterlife. Sukuna acknowledged Jogo's strength, making him cry in the face of his imminent demise. Jogo met his end in a blaze of fire. In the aftermath, Yuram appeared behind Sukuna, kneeling and greeting him. Sukuna, pleased to see her, welcomed the unfolding developments in Shibuya with a sense of dark satisfaction. Found himself exhausted after running and taking a hit from the relentless cursed user. In a last-ditch effort, he attempted to play his trump card by summoning a Shikigami, a powerful entity that had eluded the control of every sorcerer who had tried to tame it. The presence of this unmatched entity caught Sukuna's attention, prompting him to investigate personally. Before leaving, Sukuna instructed Yuram to complete preparations for his arrival. Megumi, in a strategic move, initiated a ritual to force the cursed user to participate. Among the entities he summoned was Mahoraga, the 8-handled sword and divergent Sela divine general. This powerful Shikigami, untied by Megumi, unleashed its might. Mahoraga first punched away Megumi and then set its sights on Haruta Shijimo. As it prepared to strike a fatal blow, Sukuna intervened to save Haruta. No. Witnessing Megumi lying in a pool of his own sauce, Sukuna decided to heal him. To preserve Megumi's life, it became imperative to take down the Shikigami. As an outsider, Sukuna was the only one capable of achieving this and making it appear as if the exorcism ritual never happened. Mahoraga, equipped with the Sword of Extermination specialized for cursed spirits, initiated an attack on Sukuna. Sukuna skillfully defended and counterattacked with his dismantling technique. Mahoraga, functioning as a reverse curse technique and carrying positive energy, posed a unique challenge. If Sukuna were a cursed spirit, a single attack from Mahoraga's sword would have caused him to vanish. The confrontation escalated into a fierce battle, with Sukuna and Mahoraga exchanging powerful blows, tossing each other around buildings, and causing widespread destruction to Shibuya's infrastructure. Sukuna and Mahoraga reached unprecedented levels of intensity. Despite Sukuna's relentless attacks and countless slashes, Mahoraga quickly recovered from the dismantle technique. The two entities engaged in a spectacular clash, tossing heavy objects at each other with buildings crumbling like tiny pebbles. Sukuna shattered Mahoraga's extermination sword with a single bite, demonstrating his overwhelming power. The remaining humans in Shibuya struggled to save themselves from falling structures as the two mighty beings continued their destructive confrontation. Mahoraga, growing in size, wielded metro trains like nunchucks, adding an intriguing twist twist to the fight that fascinated Sukuna. Sukuna cut Mahoraga into pieces, but the Shikigami rapidly recovered, turning back to its normal form. Realizing that Mahoraga's ability resembled Yamato no Orochi, Sukuna noted the Shikigami's adaptability and perceptive nature. Fury's incantation and the magic wheel on Mahoraga's head indicated a complete cycle and harmony, allowing the Shikigami to adapt to all phenomena. Sukuna found himself captivated by Megumi's unique abilities. In a decisive move, Sukuna unleashed his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. Unlike traditional domain expansions, Sukuna's technique made the innate domain visible, painting directly in the sky. This divine technique allowed Sukuna to reduce Mahoraga to cells. Sukuna's relentless series of attacks within the guaranteed hit range continued, with Mahoraga regenerating each time. Recognizing the only way to defeat Mahoraga was to utilize a technique faster than the Shikigami could adapt, Sukuna pressed on. The regeneration of Mahoraga approached its end, and Sukuna's attacks generated enough heat to burn 100 meters of radius to ashes. Finally, Mahoraga was defeated. However, before fading away, Sukuna took the opportunity to kill Haruta. As Sukuna shifted Megumi to Yaga-sensei and Miss Eri, Yuji, who had returned to consciousness, witnessed the devastation caused by Sukuna in Shibuya. Overwhelmed by the memories of Sukuna's actions during his unconscious state, Yuji mentally broke down and began crying, expressing a desire for death. However, he gathered himself, determined to save his comrades. Meanwhile, a half-burned Nanami headed outside to the surface, as Yuji, overwhelmed and mentally broken, made his way towards Shibuya Station. Memories of his childhood where people bullied his family for being cursed flooded his mind. Meanwhile, Nanami, exhausted and feeling the weight of his sorcerer duties, embarked on his last walk, imagining a peaceful beach on a sunny day. Despite his tired and half-burned body, Nanami confronted hundreds of transfigured humans on the platform, thinking about his comrades and expressing weariness of being a sorcerer. With a covered blade, Nanami slashed through the transfigured humans, but exhaustion set in, and he found himself overwhelmed by the relentless attacks. Frustration consumed him, but he regained composure when Mahito arrived on the scene. Yuji, having also arrived, witnessed the unfolding confrontation. Nanami, seeing Heibara in front of him, gathered his courage and entrusted the rest to those present. In a final act of defiance, Mahito exploded his upper body in front of Yuji. Filled with frustration, Yuji charged towards Mahito. Mahito, using soul manipulation and transfiguration, attempted to distract Yuji with a barrage of attacks using his blade. However, Mahito failed to pierce through Yuji's resolve. In a moment of revelation, Mahito reminded Yuji of his own struggles with remorse and the need to accept certain truths. Yuji, recalling Nanami's last words, managed to calm his anger. Activating his cursed energy, Yuji began walking towards Mahito. In response, Mahito also charged towards Yuji, activating his own cursed energy. A fierce clash ensued, with Yuji landing a dropkick and a series of punches, attempting to push away the cursed spirit while suppressing the surrounding area. As Yuji continued to dodge Mahito's attacks, the two engaged in a fierce battle within a falling lift. Yuji showcased his agility, dodging Mahito's strikes and countering with powerful punches. Mahito, aware of the risk, understood that a mistake on his part could lead to his demise. He decided to focus on attacking the transfigured humans, recognizing the effectiveness of using them against Yuji's soul. Mahito attempted to escape, and Yuji followed in pursuit. Along the way, Yuji encountered two men who warned him about the monsters. Mistakenly thinking them to be human, Yuji approached, only to be caught off guard as one of the men delivered a powerful punch, revealing that it was Mahito wearing the skin of a human. To further complicate matters, Mahito transfigured another man into a sword, using transfigured humans against Yuji, knowing it would have a profound impact on his soul. Mahito planned to exploit this strategy to crush Yuji. Meanwhile, Mahito had created a clone before separating from Jogo and Dagon. The real Mahito continued his confrontation with Yuji, while the clone encountered Kyujisaki. Kyujisaki, aware of Mahito's soul-related techniques, understood the importance of avoiding physical contact with him. In response, Kyujisaki initiated the first attack. Nida earnestly warns Kyujisaki about the perils of venturing into the Veil, emphasizing the need to avoid reckless actions. Kyujisaki, well aware of Nida's concerns, grapples with the internal conflict between watching her comrades battle and heeding the cautionary advice. Meanwhile, Mahito endeavors to crush Yuji's soul by unleashing transfigured humans upon him. Simultaneously, a clone Mahito engages in a relentless assault on Kyujisaki. Undeterred, Kyujisaki skillfully evades Mahito's attacks while countering with her cursed energy-powered nails, deftly avoiding both Mahito's hands and his attempts to interfere with others' souls. In a strategic move, Kyujisaki wears down her own spirit to assist the clone Mahito. However, Mahito manages to land a significant blow, inflicting a minor injury on Kyujisaki's shoulder. Persisting in her assault, Kyujisaki drops unnoticed nails on the ground, seizing the opportunity to utilize her hairpin attack, expanding the nails and leaping onto the clone Mahito. In her pocket, she harbors something that could turn the tide in her favor. As Kyujisaki pins down the clone and nails its head, The real Mahito, intending to finish Yuuji, receives an unexpected, fatal blow. Sensing her cursed energy erupting nearby, Kujisaki realizes that the Mahito in front of her lacks the potent cursed energy characteristic of the real one. A triumphant smile graces her face as she discerns that she's facing a clone incapable of using any technique. Meanwhile, the real Mahito, recovering from Kujisaki's attack, undergoes a relentless beating from Yuuji, who pummels him like a punching bag. The clone Mahito decides to reunite with the real Mahito, and the two Mahitos converge. The real Mahito, recovering but still restricted in movement, rushes towards Kujisaki, touching her on the head. Kujisaki experiences a rush of emotions as her life flashes before her eyes. From her troublesome childhood in the village, where she believed everyone was mad except for her, to her friendship with Fumi and the realization that being a stranger is harder than being a friend. Her elder friend Sayori's presence softened her demeanor, but the unsettling atmosphere at Sayori's house led to her departure from the village. As Kujisaki pursued high school in Tokyo, she discovered that not everyone was mad, and her past experiences shaped her perception of the world. In a poignant moment, Kujisaki apologizes to Fumi for not fulfilling a promise, and just as she reflects on her life, the part of her face touched by Mahito explodes. Urging Yuuji to inform everyone that she had a pretty good life, Kujisaki found herself in an awkward situation when she accidentally spilled coffee on Gojo's expensive shirt, priced at a staggering 250,000 yen. And as they scrambled to gather money for a replacement, Gojo walked into the room, inquiring about his shirt. Sensing trouble, Yuuji instinctively stood in front of Kujisaki. However, their concerns shifted dramatically when Mahito entered the scene. Yuuji, overwhelmed by emotions, began to lose control and cry. Mahito, seizing the opportunity, charged towards the defenseless Yuuji and unleashed a powerful black flash, sending him flying meters away, smashing him into a wall, kicking him, and reveling in his suffering. As Mahito prepared to deliver a fatal blow to Yuuji, a sudden clap replaced Yuuji with a rock, and Todo made a stylish entrance, discussing the beauty of the world. Todo, initially arriving to save Gojo, altered his plans upon learning that Getou had left with the prison realm. As Yuuji regained consciousness, he was met with Todo's presence, triggering a mental breakdown as he grieved the loss of his comrades. Despite Mahito's attempts to attack Yuuji, Todo skillfully swapped Mahito's position with his clap. Todo, in an effort to console Yuuji, emphasized the shared identity of jujutsu sorcerers and the absence of sin or punishment in their calling. He urged Yuuji to focus on fulfilling the entrusted responsibilities of his fallen comrades rather than dwelling on the meaning of their deaths. Meanwhile, Miwa, equipped with the last remaining Mekamaru device, rushed towards Shibuya with backup. Mekamaru, in a heartfelt confession, apologized for his perceived weakness before succumbing to his demise. Todo and Yuuji continued their relentless assault on Mahito, breaking through the ground and descending to the depths of Shibuya. Mahito, realizing the diminishing state of Yuuji's soul and his own declining soul percentage, pondered the possibility of killing Todo with a single touch. As they fought, Mahito summoned cursed spirits to hinder Todo, focusing on countering his troublesome technique. Todo, the sole user of Black Flash in the current battle, contemplated a strategy to maintain the delicate balance of the situation. After intense contemplation, Todo finally unleashed the power of Black Flash, marking a turning point as all three combatants reached 120% of their potential. Mahito, employing soul multiplicity, body repel and unleashing multiple cursed spirits, created a chaotic battleground to impede place swapping. The fierce battle in Shibuya continued. Todo, always ready for a good time, decided to play musical chairs with Mahito and Yuuji. With a snap, Todo swapped Mahito with Yuuji. Now, things got a bit weird. Mahito decided to pull a magic trick straight out of a horror show and separated his head from his lower body. The lower body then started attacking Yuuji and Todo, doing its best impression of a breakdancing zombie. Mahito, ever the overachiever, grew a new body and unleashed his soul multiplicity, polymorphic soul isomer, because why settle for one body when you can have a muscular transfigured one made from a chaotic mix of souls and flesh? Todo, the master strategist, quickly realized that Mahito's body power ratio after the split was 8-2, so he swapped out the weak body to face Yuuji. Little did he know, the transfigured human was aiming for gold in the heavyweight division. Todo got thrown through a building, and now he's questioning his life choices. But wait, there's a plot twist. Todo claps back, literally, and lands a punch on the transfigured human. Turns out, all it took was one solid blow to take down the muscle-bound monstrosity. Todo turns around, thinking it's all over, only to face two more similarly offensive transfigured humans. Mahito, meanwhile, combines his remaining body parts and continues the attack, turning Shibuya into a supernatural wrestling ring. Yuuji, in the midst of the chaos, charges towards Mahito to deliver a swift kick. Mahito catches Yuuji mid-air and throws him away like a disgruntled parent dealing with a tantrum-throwing toddler. As Yuuji runs back towards Todo, Mahito follows, because why not? Mahito can't use the domain expansion because that would mean a face-off with Sukuna, and nobody wants that. But Mahito, being the sly fox, pulls a trick from the Gojo playbook and activates domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection. giving himself a mere 0.2 seconds of domain expansion life. Todo, not to be outdone, expands a simple domain Yuki Tsukumo taught him. Now, the real showdown begins. Todo's hand starts transfiguring, and he separates it from his body. Mahito throws a black flash punch, Todo defends with cursed energy, and suddenly Todo's locket falls to the ground, revealing a photo of a girl and Yuji. Todo, fueled by the power of background music, confidently starts beating Mahito. Todo decides to take a breather, leaving the stage to Yuji. Mahito, not one to be outdone, uses ideal transfiguration, changing into an unbridled soul form. Mahito and Yuji charge towards each other, throwing punches that would make even the gods flinch. Yuji lands a punch on Mahito's ribs, but basically Mahito counters, stabbing Yuji's shoulder. The two continue their dance of destruction, with Yuji desperately needing to activate the black flash at maximum power. The bodies are giving up, but the souls are still kicking. They charge towards each other, and just when it seems like Mahito is about to deliver the final blow, Todo reappears, swapping Yuji's position. Yuji, now in prime black flash mode, lands a devastating punch on Mahito, sending him back to his less intimidating form. The stock of transfigured humans is out, and Yuji is on a mission. Mahito, realizing he's in deep trouble, starts running away. He throws mud and rocks at Yuji, who sees Mahito as a wolf and kicks him like he's asking for treats. Getou appears, asking if Mahito wants to be saved. Shibuya has turned into a post-apocalyptic playground, and Panda is on a mission to find Kusakabe amidst the rubble. After some expert detective work, Panda locates Kusakabe. Meanwhile, in the tropical paradise of Malaysia, Mei Mei is casually sharing a bed with Yu. Choso, after a brief nap and some introspection, wakes up determined to figure out who this Yuji character is. Back in the chaos of Shibuya, Yuji is on a collision course with Getou. Getou pulls off some gravity-defying moves. In reality, he just tripped. Undeterred, Yuji charges again, only to be repelled by a squad of sneaky cursed spirits Getou summoned. Mahito is about to make his move on Getou, but Getou decides to absorb Mahito. Getou then drops some knowledge bombs on Yuji about the maximum technique, Aka, the essence of techniques beyond the domain. Using cursed spirit manipulation, Getou unveils Maximum, Uzumaki, absorbing Mahito and unleashing a swirling vortex of cursed energy. The reinforcements arrive, launching arrows and attacks at Getou. Miwa charges with her sword, but Getou just shatters it like it's made of cheap glass. Smooth move, Getou. Kusakabe jumps in to save Miwa, Panda rallies the troops, and Choso enters the scene. However, Choso uncovers his dark family secrets. The detestable Noritoshi Kamo, the most evil sorcerer in history, is to blame for the mess. Choso, fueled by sibling duty, attacks Getou with his blood manipulation. Panda, Kamo, and Yuji are left scratching their heads at the sudden family reunion. Just when things couldn't get more complicated, Yuram freezes everyone with her ice technique. Choso, facing imminent doom, tries to fight back, but Yuji, in a heroic gesture, jumps in to save his newfound brother. Yuram is about to unleash another icy attack when Yuki Tsukumo swoops in, stopping the freeze with a dramatic flare. With the stage set for a showdown, Yuki sends a flying kiss toward Getou, not realizing who might be lurking inside Getou's twisted mind. The situation has escalated, and Yuki is desperately trying to buy time for Laru to make a move. To do so, she engages in a tense conversation with Kamo, attempting to exploit the flaws in his plan. Yuki reveals that Kamo's detachment plan has a significant flaw. There are far fewer cursed spirits outside Japan. The barrier of Tenjin is crucial for the optimization plan, and monopolizing cursed energy within Japan would lead to global repercussions. Yuki argues that Kamo's vision doesn't align with the ideal world she envisions. Kamo's plan, limited by his own possibilities, needs a change. The key lies in chaos that can't be controlled, the entity with a black glow amidst the chaos. Yuki then abruptly turns to Yuji, inquiring about the cursed spirit Mahito. Yuji informs Yuki that Kamo has recently swallowed Mahito, adding an unexpected twist to the conversation. Kamo, not one to back down, uses ideal transfiguration to create a massive circle on the ground and in the sky. He has marked two types of non-sorcerers in advance, those who swallowed cursed objects like Yuji and those with techniques but lacking the brains of sorcerers like Junpei Yoshino. Kamo adjusts their brains to match those of sorcerers and releases them into the world. A chilling revelation follows. Kamo has given cursed objects to selected individuals, remnants of sorcerers he has contracted with over 1,000 years. These cursed objects transform the recipients into cursed spirits. Kamo bids farewell to Yuji as he unleashes a black mist that spreads across Tokyo and Japan, releasing more than 10 million cursed spirits. Chaos ensues, and Japan descends into darkness. The government panics, and cities face blackouts. The Jujutsu High Authority issues orders to disclose the existence of cursed spirits, claiming they will only appear in Tokyo. However, this plan goes awry as broadcasters are killed on live TV, and cursed spirits attack people inside their homes. Amidst the chaos, a little girl faces a cursed spirit in a supermarket. A mysterious sorcerer intervenes, saving her from the clutches of the curse. The sorcerer, Rika, exhibits impressive skills and the ability to see cursed spirits. In the midst of this turmoil, Akatsu is tasked with the mission to eliminate Yuuji. Jujutsu headquarters release notices, reaffirming the death penalty for Suguru Getou, listing Gojo as a co-conspirator and sentencing Masamichi Yaga to death for his involvement. The suspended execution of Yuuji is now cancelled, and Yuta Akatsu is designated as the executioner for Yuji's death penalty. That concludes the anime recap for now. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below and make sure you subscribed.